guys, it is me, RandomJosh, and I'm back again with another Random Monday video. And yes, as you can tell, my hair is actually a lot lighter now. I got highlights through it the other day, but that's irrelevant. So today I wanted to talk more about kind of mental health issues, in particular the stereotypes that kind of are behind people with depression. For those of you who don't know, I actually do suffer with depression from time to time. It's one of those things that is very hard to kind of talk about sometimes, and often you kind of feel, very kind of closed off, and it's not a fun thing to go through. But there is a lot of kind of stereotypes that surround the illness, and it is an illness. that is probably the first one that we'll talk about actually. A lot of people kind of look at depression and say that it's just a kind of thing that people say when they feel sad. It's not, it's actually real. Like, it's an illness that people go through. It's very much in the head, hence why it's a mental illness. It all bases around like your chemical imbalances through your head. So depression can come from anything really. It can come from like a really hard event, or it can just be biologically built into you that you have it, which is why it's often a bit of a risk for someone who has depression, why they sometimes might feel like they don't want to have children, because of the fear that they're going to pass it on to their children and make them go through what they've had to go through. And so it is therefore an illness. It's not something that you just kind of will pick and choose when it comes on. It's a lot of the times it's always there, it's just not always visible. Like most illnesses, you can't always see the illness that is within someone, but it is always there. It's just like, you can't tell when someone's got a cold sometimes. Just because they're sneezing doesn't mean they have a cold. Just because they're not sneezing doesn't mean they don't have a cold. It just means that they're just sneezing or not. You see what I mean? Like, it's working it around that way. Just because someone doesn't look like they're crying or they're not visibly sad doesn't mean that they don't have depression. So the next one that I kind of wanted to talk about is the idea that people can't be happy when they have depression. So this is one that I often hear, in that, like, I used to get it a lot, like, oh, you can't be depressed, like, you're so happy and stuff. But I can be happy, but it doesn't mean that it's not something inside of me that's actually tearing apart. They often do say, I can't remember the exact saying, but it's something along the lines of, those who smile brightest often have something like behind it. There's often something behind the smile. So that is one, like, it's just a natural reaction for someone with depression really. It's just put on a happy face and no one will ever question it, because a lot of people with depression don't actually want to talk about it. They just want to kind of get on with it, which is not always the best thing. It can be for some people. It's very, hit and miss. It depends on the person. But sometimes it can be often misconceived. So another one is just that people who do suffer with something like depression or any mental illness in general really, that they are not mentally strong, or they're not even physically strong maybe, because how can they let something get them down that much that they just can't physically move and stuff? It's actually not, it's the complete opposite way, because when you actually go through what people with depression have and go through that mindset, it's actually quite scary. It's a real challenge to pull yourself through, and I mean, a lot of people are really lucky enough to have some real good support around them. I am one of those. I've got some real great friends, co-workers that all understand that kind of stuff and will really help you. And I think that's really great, because there are people out there who do have depression and they have literally got no one to fall back on. They've just got themselves. But at the same time, I'm inspired by some of them because they pull through on their own, and it just shows that they've got so much strength inside of them that they can, you know, get through it all. So the next one is that everyone with depression takes medication. So it's often like people just look at them and they're thinking, oh yeah, they're kind of just like drugged up, you know, if you have depression you straight away go on antidepressants. It's not always the thing, you know, everyone has a different level of depression and a different effect with depression. So when I went to see my doctor about it, they wouldn't actually put me on the tablets because I was too young at the time. I was only 17, so they were like, well, we prefer to put them on for 18-year-olds. I guess in severe circumstances they will put them on, like younger people on there, especially due to the fact that the younger generation is the ones that actually suffer with it most. But it's usually young males as well, because basically it's just because of like all the stereotypes that go around young men, that they have to be these big strong people and they can't show emotions and things like that, and all of that just kind of builds up into making their self-esteem really low when they actually do feel sad and they feel like they can't show it, and it does lead to really bad things like suicide rates are really high in young males around the world. But that's going off topic now. So yeah, so not everyone takes meds. It's, you know, everyone's got a different thing. You can go through kind of the therapy side of things and seek counselling, or just find your own methods of self-help, you know, because it is possible. It's just knowing yourself and knowing how to cope with it in your own terms. So for me, one of my biggest ones is listening to music. It kind of allows me to channel my emotions through something else, and I kind of let the music absorb all of whatever I'm feeling and just let it out. And yeah, it just makes me feel a lot better. So I especially do that when I'm like walking the dog. My dog walks, I'll be like listening to my music and just feeling all the different vibes that you get from different songs. So I'd say probably the main stereotype that I hear so much is that people with depression are just saddos that, you know, are attention seeking. I'm not gonna lie, yes, there are some people out there that do use depression as an attention seeking method, but majority of people that have depression actually have depression, and it's not just you're sad 24/7, it's the feeling of emptiness, it's the feeling of not wanting to move out of bed, just to want to stay in your room and do nothing, and you just don't have the energy to do anything. It's literally just feeling nothing, no emotions. Yeah, you do get sadness, but yeah, you do get happiness at the same time. But just because someone is happy doesn't mean that they can't be depressed, and just because someone's sad doesn't mean that they are depressed. It's very hard to kind of determine, but yeah, it's one of those things where you know that if you know that you've got it, or you feel like you may have it, then it's always good to go and see someone about it, because it is a huge thing and it's a risk otherwise, and it's not one that's worth taking, which is why I went to see a doctor about mine. But anyway guys, I didn't want this video to go on for too long, so I just wanted to highlight a few of the stereotypes that I kind of listened to, and I'm like, we need to break that stereotypical route and accept people with mental health, that they are just trying to be normal, really. I mean, I am. I don't know about everyone else, but I am. I'm trying to fit in with society in every way possible, really. But yeah, So if you do hear someone talking about things like mental health or depression or anything around mental health, just understand that it is real. It's not like, I mean, they could be making it up, but it's not really worth the risk, because all you have to do is just listen to them, just be there for them and just talk to them. Be that kind of contact that they can have, because being on your own with depression and things like that can lead to things that are really, really horrible places that you don't want them to go, especially if they're really close friends of yours and you're just going to leave them. It's not okay. So yeah, we kind of just need to break that stereotype and understand what mental health is really. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this weirdly, you know, odd video, but it needed to be said and I wanted to say it, so I'm sorry I've got a really itchy nose. But there'll be some more fun videos, not just all Debbie Downer videos, but they'll be coming in the future. But anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed, like I said, and if you aren't part of the family, then you should definitely join the family. You know where that subscribe button is. Come and be a part of this community that we've got going. We are slowly growing and I love it. I love every single one of my lovely subscribers that always support these videos, and it's our job to really, you know, push these things like mental health and gay rights, every kind of right that there is that we need. That's what I'm here for. Anyway, I will see y'all in the next video. Peace out, bitches.